Getting ready for episode 3 of Raising Kanan, which I refer to as Rolling with RAQ. See, we got like the purple lights going on in the background. Let's get into it. This week for breakfast, I have my customary cup of cappuccino. I have a persimmon, but it's a different kind. It's shaped like an acorn. It takes a bit longer to get ripe, but the inside tends to have like the texture of jelly, and it's really, really sweet when it gets ripe. My almond pastry. So I am ready to get into Raising Kanan. Let's go. I'm liking how the show and the seasons are progressing, where their world is getting larger. The first season really started out with the focus placed on RAQ, her brother's jukebox Kanan, and then out in the street, Unique and Worrell and Howard, and, Scrappy, but a relatively small group of people that were active. And it's like, as the seasons go on, the characters have, those early characters, we've seen a lot of growth in them. And as we've moved through the seasons and other characters have been added, I like that they're not like flat one-dimensional characters. There's like nuance to them. They take a lot of time with fleshing out the characters and making them feel realistic. Giving them like interesting backstories, and it's like no one's like flat or one-dimensional. So it's like, it's actually like quite a departure from a lot of other, let's say, like street-based shows that you see, where it's like everyone's just a walking stereotype. So interesting. I'm really, really liking the development and progression of the show. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. A lot of different moving parts, a lot of people and things in play, and I like the situations that they're setting up, and I'm enjoying like the complexity of the story, where the characters are complex and the story's becoming more complex. I'm just hoping that they don't take things too far where you have too many moving parts and it becomes just a mess. But so far I'm liking the way that they're handling the show, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's like right now, I like the pacing of the show, where it's moving along. They're taking time to develop the characters, to develop the story, to like create like layers to the story. But as we all know that, or at least as it's happened so far in the seasons, is that up until about like the 8th or so episode, you have like these building blocks being laid, right? This story being put together. And then it's like things kind of kick into overdrive in the last 3 episodes of the season, where things are then left on a bit of a cliffhanger for the following season. So, but they've had like a good mix of, I think, story development and then action over just these first 3 episodes. It's been, I don't think that you need like guns blazing, shoot 'em up situation in every episode. But seeing the story develop, having it move along, I wouldn't even say slowly, but having it develop over the course of the episodes, it's been like really interesting to see. I've enjoyed it. And I actually like that the show has like a good balance between like the story development and the violence, where I find sometimes with like street movies or street stories, or even just with like action films, there can be so much like blow things up, shoot things up kind of action, where it's like the story ends up being lacking. But I feel like here there's a good balance. You have like a really great story being developed, the characters are interesting, the acting is actually good, and then it's like the action adds to the story rather than being the story. And so it makes for a really good show, a very enjoyable show. And I'm looking forward to see where they take things from here. Unique will not be able to control Ronnie. And for the time being, Unique can kind of try to put him off, but I feel like at some point, I mean, really think about it, he's in a hard spot, because at some point, he would have to tell RAQ so that she can be on her guard, for any potential attacks from him. But then at the same time, if he tells RAQ, he might then have to worry about RAQ and or her brothers trying to strike Ronnie first. So it's like, I don't think he really wants to bring any harm to RAQ, but at the same time, he doesn't want anything to be done to Ronnie and wants to preserve the relationship with Ronnie as well, because that's his brother. So it's like Unique is in a tough spot. And quite honestly, when they were at the gym working out and he was spotting Ronnie, I felt, that was fine. But when they switched positions and Ronnie was spotting him, like, I saw it in the preview clips and I kind of felt like, Ronnie might let the weight drop or something like that. But it's still early days. I think that if Ronnie starts to sense that Unique is maybe a little bit too close to RAQ, or his loyalties are somewhat spread between him and RAQ, or even more in RAQ's favor, I think there's a risk that he starts to look at Unique as being part of the problem as well. And potentially trying to get him out of the way, right? Because it seems like, well, not seems, but Ronnie stated that RAQ really should have been moved out of the way years ago, before allowing her to grow in power. And him seeing her as needing to be moved aside, right? Right now, Ronnie is not the top man in Unique's organization, right? Even with that, it's Unique's organization. Unique is the one making the moves. And I feel like he'll start out by trying to move RAQ aside, but I think that eventually he's not going to want to be second in command or taking commands from Unique, and might eventually try to move Unique out of the way. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go, right? And when you look at it, it shows you like just how treacherous the game is, how it can like fracture relationships, set family members against each other, friends against each other, because you look at Unique and Ronnie, but at the same time, you look at Kanan and Famous, right? Where for the most part, as long as Famous isn't involved in anything important, he's pretty harmless, But we see Kanan initially trying to pull Famous into his business. But now, RAQ stops by and gives Famous some money. Like, she senses that Famous is like a weakling too. And you see like the change in their relationship, right? Where when you think about it, actually going back to the first season, when Famous first put out Streets Need a Body, and Davina told Kanan that she heard it and felt that it was about $120, that Kanan ran up on Famous and like hemmed him up against the video game machine at the pizzeria, and Famous was able to smooth things out then. But you look at this now, where very quickly Kanan became aggressive towards Famous when he found out that, RAQ stopped by and gave Famous money for him and Kanan. Like, he basically threatened Famous. And then to add to it, like, kind of slapped him in the face. Not like a hard slap, but like sunning him. It's like, it shows you like the transformation of these relationships. That for all the talk and whatnot, there's no loyalty out here on these streets, right? It's really every man for himself. Because friends and family, y'all can be cool one day, and if you get in the way of business and stuff like that, not everybody's going to look at it like we're cool, or we're friends, or we're family, or whatever. Some people will be willing to cross that line. So I actually like the direction that the show is going, where as it goes on and the problems mount for the characters, I think it's obviously it's dramatized, but it's a pretty realistic representation of like just how treacherous the streets can be, where not only do you face threats from rivals, not only do you face threats from the local police and now from the feds, but you can also face threats from like the people that you hustle with, your friends and your family, right? You look at it, think back to the second season, last season, where the moment that RAQ was told by Howard that Scrappy was snitching, they automatically became suspicious, right? Granted, they tried to give him the benefit of the doubt by looking into things first, but ultimately RAQ ended up killing him, right? She made the wrong call. Though I do think there was some funny business with Scrappy going on there. You look at it now with Famous and Kanan, where Famous has been Kanan's boy, And it's inching towards the point where he now feels comfortable threatening Famous, right? And I think you look at like the relationship between RAQ and Lou, where they were really, really tight at the start of the first season, but a rift began between them by the end of that season, and it just continued to grow over the second season, to the point where now it's unclear how RAQ feels towards Lou, but Lou like hates RAQ now. So it's like, it's actually like a pretty cool representation of like this life for all the money that it might afford, the clothes, the jewelry, the cars, a nice house and stuff like that, that ultimately it's really not worth it.
Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my movie review playlist. Go ahead and click the thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and